One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. Joe, I want to start with a question that Bill Scholl and I talked about last week, and Bill related this as being one of his most significant challenges in being a new athletic director that he faced when he got to Ball State, and certainly he's more comfortable with it now as the athletic director at Marquette. And you guys both have pretty similar backgrounds at previous rival schools, or I guess they're going to face each other again on the gridiron soon. Bill at Notre Dame, you at Michigan, then of course you moved on to Texas Tech before Colorado State. But Bill mentioned that one of the most difficult things he faced as a new AD was truly being the final decision maker on anything and everything. So the buck stops with him. And I want to ask you kind of the same question. Has that been something you found to be most challenging in Fort Collins in your year and a half, or is there another facet of being an AD that might top that one as the most difficult?
No, I think, Bill's assessment is accurate. That certainly is the one thing that's different about the other roles that I've served. Backing it up a little bit, the time that I was at Texas Tech, Kirby had me deeply involved in a lot of the decision-making of the department, but that was what was unique about my role there is that, he was the person that had to go to bed at night realizing that, it was his decision. We others that he might collaborate with to kind of arrive at a recommendation, didn't ultimately have to own it necessarily as Kirby would. And so that's been, something that was obvious when I stepped on board here. And, a lot of what you try and do, I think, as an athletics director is you do recognize that the final decision you own, it's going to be a part of your history and legacy with the institution. But, I really rely heavily on staff. We talk a lot about diversity and inclusion. And I think when you're faced with a decision, particularly big ones that have high impacts, it's really important to get your campus thought leaders in the room and have them all evaluate the information and facts that are in front of them, in front of all of you, and really come to as close of a consensus as you can. You may not always get there, but then ultimately, it is that one person's decision, but you realize that the path that you've taken to get there has really leveraged all the good thinkers that you can assemble in the room. And I'm not talking a room full of people typically, but you want, 2 or 3 key advisors that may be closer to the day-to-day issues that are being wrestled with at that moment. But I think for me, it's important to know that you've really worked hard to kind of vet the situation and really refined, a set of recommendations, and then get to the point where, it is just that singular step forward. And then another very, very good tool that I have to give Kirby credit for was, we get to that point, and then a lot of times, and I share this with my staff here, I say, let's sleep on it. It's not, if it's not an urgent matter, it's nice to be able to, kind of put your head on the pillow. If you wake up the following morning and you feel the same way, then it's probably the right decision to make, and you move forward.
In those kind of conversations where you have a really tight group of those that you trust throughout the department that are addressing any specific topic or issue or decision, other than, let's sleep on it, do you ever have trouble with, or do you have strategies for making sure every angle is debated in a healthy manner? Do you commonly take maybe the devil's advocate view just to show the other side of the coin to everybody else in the room? How does that commonly play out?
I usually try and sort of cue the problem up, frame it, provide some framing to it, and then at that point, just try and listen for a while. And a lot of times, I think that can be kind of hard, but you just want to sit and listen and allow people to sort of explore their thoughts, and then others to build upon those thoughts. and then at a point, I try and kind of bring everyone back and run through kind of a summary of what's been laid out before us, and that's usually the approach that I've tried to take.
How often, post decision, and this could really apply to your entire professional career, but maybe specifically in your time in Fort Collins, how often post decision do you look back days, weeks, months afterwards and try to reconsider an angle maybe you didn't see in a decision that you maybe just internally feel like you got wrong? Kind of how do you continue to evolve on that process?
Yeah, I think reflection is important. I feel fairly fortunate that throughout my work life experience, there haven't been many moments where I feel like I've made a big significant whiff at the plate. In most cases, are there nuances or little things that could have been done differently, that would have put us on a better path or expedited the outcomes to a more favorable point? Sure. And there's have to credit, like to credit where credit is due, but we had a outside advisor at Texas Tech, a fellow named Mark Trebus, who works in kind of the team building leadership space, and he comes from a military background, and one of the practices that he introduced to us was an action after review. So if you do encounter a situation where the outcomes weren't quite what you wanted, it's a real healthy exercise to get the people that were most directly involved together and kind of talk through what had happened. So, that's a big practice that we use here. If we encounter something in our compliance area that we just feel like, hey, that wasn't our best moment, what can we do to get better so that if we encounter similar circumstances, we'll be stronger for having gone through this. We're very intentional about taking a moment and pausing and kind of talking that issue through so that the next time we're faced with, similar fact patterns, we do a much better job at arriving at a solution that's more satisfactory to everyone.
I'm curious to always ask this question to athletic directors, and I need to kind of remind myself to ask it more often, but how do you prepare with meetings for your president, with your president, and whether those are monthly, semi-annually? I mean, I know you and Tony are probably talking quite a bit right now, of course, but in a more structured manner, how do you prepare for your meetings with your president?
I'm really fortunate. I had never worked directly for an executive officer of an institution, and so that was one of the things that was kind of the outlier in my mind. What is that experience like? And I'd always worked with ADs, and you kind of you've all sort of grown up with similar backgrounds and followed similar career journeys to get to the point that you might be at. So that was the big question mark in my mind. And I tell you, Matt, I have been so fortunate in my 16-month experience here at Colorado State. Dr. Frank, President Frank, is really in many ways becoming a good friend. And I think from the onset we had a high level of trust. He as he does, I think, with all of his direct reports, that are responsible for units of campus, he's comfortable, granting a lot of autonomy, and we do meet, routinely. We've tried to kind of stay on a frequency of monthly one-on-ones. If either of our schedules kind of move us off that routine, we always know that a quick text message or a phone call can kind of bring us back to where we need to be on a particular subject or a line of decision making. So preparation for those one-on-ones. I don't know if it's right or wrong. It seems to be working for both of us, but I don't spend a terrible amount of time in preparation. Our days in athletics move very quickly, and every minute seems to be valuable. So I'll try, a few days in advance to, just kind of keep a rolling idea of subject matter that I think might be important for review in that one-on-one meeting, and I'll just kind of build a list over a 2 or 3 day period, and maybe the morning of I'll formalize it, and if there's some supporting material that I need to put together to share with Tony, I'll make sure that that's available to me. But I'm not grinding out a major binder or anything like that. It's been more of where we're very comfortable just having an open dialogue and communication, and he's never made me feel like that I'm unprepared when I go in to have those conversations, and it's worked for us in the last year.
How do you stay on top of what else is going on around campus? Is there a structured way you receive information from different departments, or want to see certain stuff that gets filtered through your executive assistant? And how important is it to really have a pulse on the rest of what's going on campus?
Yeah, I think it's vastly important, and I think just a little broad commentary. I think one of our shortcomings in intercollegiate athletics is that we've really, in some ways, failed to underscore our connections to campus. We've relied on the media to kind of define us as a sports entertainment enterprise, and when you really look at what we do daily, and if you really talk to leaders in intercollegiate athletics, both administratively and coaching, it's pretty clear to me, at least for my own personal satisfaction and what kind of drives me, this is about education. It's about helping young people grow and helping young people advance. So for those reasons, I've worked hard everywhere I've been, but probably doubly so now that I'm on campus leading the intercollegiate athletic initiatives here to make sure that we maintain a strong connection to other areas of the university. So how did that happen? I'm a part of the cabinet. A lot of times they're covering subject matter that doesn't have any direct relevance to my day-to-day, but I try and pay attention. I try and understand the sensitivities that they're faced with and the challenges that make up the peer academy of the institution. I've worked hard to build relationships with other cabinet members and members of the Council of Deans. Got great advice from John Curry when I was on board, and he said, be intentional about that. Go meet with every one of the deans. And so I did that. I scheduled in my first 60 days, one-on-ones with all of them, and they were kind of surprised. Some of them, didn't really understand the nature of the meeting, but, I just kind of prefaced it with, I want you to understand who I am as a person and how I'm going to approach my responsibilities on this campus. And I want you to know that, we have students that participate in intercollegiate athletics. I've tried to almost stay away from the reference of student athletes and really stress that, we've got representation in every college on our campus that are participating in intercollegiate athletics here. So our students are their students and vice versa. So, I wanted to really focus on building those relationships. And then the other thing that I've worked hard to do is if I'm invited to events across campus that, may feel like, I could have higher priorities, it would be, a place to devote my time and energy. I think face time in front of people is important. That's a part of the relationship building side of it. And then there, after that, I rely on the communication methodologies that units of campus use. I pay attention to the emails that I get. I pay attention to the direct mail flyers that are promoting programs and activities on campus. And if it fits, and I think it's, would complement what we're doing in intercollegiate athletics, again, I try and be a direct participant.
Okay, a couple of quick and easy fun ones. What book is sitting on your desk right now, and or what book is sitting on your chairside table at home that you're digging into?
Chairside table is bedside table is True North, and I don't have a book on my table, but I've got a credenza here at the office, and what's visible right now is the first 90 days, which referred to in my first 90 days. The Servant, which is a book that Joe Castiglione introduced me to, which is just a book that I try and pick up a couple times a year and read some passages in. And then been anxious to share the Fred factor with a lot of our external staff. That's a good one, just on customer service. And then another one is delivering happiness. And so when I was on Kirby's team at Texas Tech, and even when I was here, when we initiated the formal planning process, kind of building our strategic plan, we wanted a certain attitude amongst the team members that were invited into that effort. And Kirby had recommended, and they did read at Texas Tech, Delivering Happiness, and I encouraged my staff here to do the same. So it's the story of Zappos and just the unique culture that they created in that company that kind of drove their success.
Yeah, it's a terrific one. Terrific book. Okay, so lastly, the most talented single athletic administration that was together at one time at one place. What's your gut response to that?
Yeah, that's probably an easy one. I like the team I have here. I love the team that I was a part of at Texas Tech. Feel great about every group that I've been a part of. But if you ask me that question, it's easy. When I was at Oklahoma, I arrived there February 2000, left July of 2003, and it was a pretty unique time period for OU. A lot of people just kind of starting their careers or just kind of hitting the launching point of their career. But that was obviously Joe's still there, Castiglione, Jeff Long was on that staff, and Kirby, of course, that's where he and I formed our friendship and professional relationship. Rick Hart, Matt Trantham, there are so many others, Coach Stoops and his staff. So it was a nice time to be there. That was the 2000 football season with 13 wins and a national championship. So that was a pretty remarkable time to be a part of a pretty unique group.
And that's today's One Question, brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. One Question is designed to give D1 Ticker subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences. One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996.